Josh Hamilton. In 1999, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays made Josh Hamilton the first overall pick. A 6'4" outfielder with 5 tools and a left-handed swing so smooth, it drew Ken Griffey Jr. comparisons. His batting practice sessions were legend. Towering shots, laser line drives, and an arm that could throw a strike from the warning track. Scouts called him "can't miss," and for a while, it looked like they were right. Then came the injuries, back issues, knee surgeries, and the real derailment: addiction. Cocaine, crack, alcohol. By 2003, Hamilton was out of baseball, cycling through suspensions and rehab stints, burning through the fortune and reputation he built. For 3 years, he didn't play a professional game. The story looked finished before it began. Then came the comeback. Sober, picked up in the Rule 5 draft by the Cubs, Hamilton finally debuted in 2007 under the Reds. A year later, he was in Texas, launching 28 home runs in one unforgettable home run derby round and winning AL MVP in 2010 with a .359 average. It felt like baseball's greatest redemption story, but addiction doesn't care about storylines. Relapses followed, messy, public, and sometimes mid-season. Injuries returned. The $125 million contract with the Angels turned sour fast. By 2017, his career was over. In 2019, an arrest for allegedly injuring a child erased whatever remained of the redemption image. Josh Hamilton's arc is a rise, a crash, a miraculous climb, and another crash. The swing was beautiful. The story painfully human and impossible to tie up neatly. Brien Taylor. In 1991, the Yankees made Brien Taylor the first overall pick, a 19-year-old lefty from rural North Carolina who threw 98 miles per hour when that number still felt mythical. Represented by Scott Boras, Taylor landed a $1.55 million signing bonus, the largest in draft history at the time, and was immediately labeled "can't miss." Scouts weren't talking about if he'd be an ace. They were talking about whether he'd be in the Hall of Fame. His first 2 seasons in the minors only fed the hype. A 2.57 ERA his debut year, strikeout rates that embarrassed hitters, and a fastball that seemed to warp time. New York had their future rotation anchor. Then came December 1993. Home in Beaufort for the offseason, Taylor's brother got into a fight at a local hangout. Brien stepped in, threw a punch, and tore the capsule in his pitching shoulder. Surgery followed, but the velocity was gone, the command worse. He went from triple-digit heat to high 80s survival mode. His ERA ballooned, walks doubled, and the strikeouts dried up. By 1998, Taylor was out of baseball without ever throwing a pitch in the majors. The next Ron Guidry never made it past Double-A. Post-baseball, Taylor faded into small-town obscurity until 2012, when he was arrested for trafficking crack cocaine. He served nearly 3 years in federal prison before returning quietly to North Carolina. Brien Taylor's arc is baseball's purest ghost story. A surefire Hall of Fame future gone in one swing, leaving behind nothing but what-ifs and regret. Dustin Ackley. In 2009, Dustin Ackley was the definition of a sure thing. At North Carolina, he was a 3-time All-American. In Omaha, he raked, including a .522 line at the 2009 CWS and a tournament record 28 career hits. The Mariners took him second overall behind Steven Strasburg, confident they'd found a future batting champion who could play anywhere. Scouts raved about his plate discipline, compact swing, and ability to adjust mid-at-bat. Ackley debuted in 2011, and early signs were promising. A .273 average, gap power, and smooth defense at second base. Seattle fans saw him as the cornerstone of the rebuild, but the skill set flattened almost immediately. The walks vanished, his swing lost its authority, and pitchers stopped nibbling. He was neither a leadoff spark nor a middle-order threat. Versatile became positionless as he was shuffled from second to first to the outfield. By 2014, his average sat at 245, and he was a lineup filler. Seattle traded him to the Yankees in 2015. A back strain limited that year, and in May 2016, a torn right shoulder labrum required season-ending surgery. When he returned, the bat was colder than ever. By age 29, he was out of MLB, signing minor league deals that never turned into call-ups. Ackley's bust wasn't a train wreck, it was a slow leak, the kind that quietly drains a franchise's hope. For the Mariners, safe turned into wasted years. For Ackley, the career that was supposed to be automatic became the kind you only remember when someone says, "Hey, whatever happened to that guy?" Donovan Tate. When the Padres took Donovan Tate 3rd overall in 2009, it felt like they'd landed a blueprint player. 6'3", NFL bloodlines, Olympic-level speed, and the defensive instincts of a Gold Glover in waiting. Scouts envisioned him as the future of center field in San Diego. But the body never held up. In his first few seasons, Tate suffered a separated shoulder, recurring hamstring pulls, and even a broken jaw from an ATV accident. Then came 2 separate drug suspensions for substance abuse, the kind MLB doesn't detail in press releases. Between injuries and suspensions, his development time vanished. Over 7 years, he played just 173 minor league games, hitting 226 with more strikeouts than hits. The raw tools never got refined because the reps never came. By 2016, at age 25, Tate pivoted to college football at the University of Arizona, hoping for a fresh start. It didn't work. He never played it down, and baseball never called again. Tate's story is what happens when the hype is all projection. He had every tool on paper, but you can't develop skills you never get to use. 3rd overall, millions in signing bonuses, and the legacy is a stat line that looks like a typo. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting a lot more. Thanks. Matt Bush. In 2004, the Padres had the #1 pick and passed on big-name pitchers like Justin Verlander to take a hometown shortstop from San Diego named Matt Bush. He was a slick fielding infielder with a strong arm, gap power, and enough athleticism that the team saw him as a future all-star. San Diego marketed him as the local kid makes good story before he'd even taken a professional at-bat. Fans bought in. Bush's jersey sold before he played a game. Then came the spiral. Weeks after signing, he was arrested for fighting outside a nightclub. That offseason, another incident. Drunk, throwing baseballs at passing cars. The bat stalled in the minors, the maturity stalled even harder. The Padres traded him, and Bush bounced to Toronto, then Tampa Bay, each stop ending with another off-field headline. The lowest point came in 2012. Bush, attempting a pitching comeback, got drunk and ran over a motorcyclist, then fled the scene. The victim survived, but Bush went to prison for over 3 years. The #1 pick was now inmate #1. Somehow, after prison, he reinvented himself. The Rangers signed him, converted him to a reliever, and in 2016, he debuted throwing 97 miles per hour. For a while, he was a key bullpen piece in Texas, even pitching in the playoffs. But injuries returned and the magic faded. Bush's career is the rare mix of bust and miracle. A player who lost everything, got it back, and still ended up defined more by the detours than the destination. Delmon Young. In 2003, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays made Delmon Young the #1 overall pick, a 5-tool prodigy whose bat speed made pitchers visibly uncomfortable. In the minors, he looked inevitable, hitting .318, flashing 25 homer power, and throwing runners out from right field like it was Little League. He was on every future MVP list before his 21st birthday. Then came the bat toss. In 2006 in AAA, Young struck out looking, didn't like the call, and helicoptered his bat into the chest of an umpire. Suspension, 50 games. Not exactly a quiet debut year. Still, he reached the majors in 2007, and for a while, it worked. He had solid seasons, even led the AL in doubles one year, and hit big October home runs. His 2012 ALCS MVP run with Detroit was his peak. Clutch hits, postseason swagger. But the temper and off-field incidents never went away. In 2012, Young was arrested in New York for aggravated harassment after making anti-Semitic remarks during a drunken altercation. It wasn't his first fight, and it wouldn't be his last. Teams got tired of betting on him. By 30, Young was gone from MLB, reduced to winter ball in Venezuela and the Dominican Republic. Delmon Young's arc is the slow realization that talent can outrun trouble for a few years, but not forever. You can have postseason highlights and an ALCS MVP trophy, but if the league trusts you less than the opposing bullpen, the ride ends quick. Steve Chilcott. In 1966, the Mets held the first overall pick in the amateur draft and made what they thought was a franchise-defining choice. Steve Chilcott, a California high school catcher with big-time power, a cannon arm, and the kind of athleticism that made scouts picture him in all-star games for the next decade. The decision was bold and controversial, because Oakland A's legend-to-be Reggie Jackson was sitting right there. At first, it didn't seem crazy. Chilcott's minor league debut showed promise. He had popped from the left side, moved well behind the plate, and was already drawing comparisons to Thurman Munson before either had played an MLB inning. In 1967, in just his second pro season, it all changed. Diving back to second base on a pickoff attempt, Chilcott landed awkwardly and separated his shoulder. In the 60s, that kind of injury was basically a career sentence. Surgical techniques weren't what they are today. Chilcott's arm strength never came back. His bat slowed, and his once rapid rise through the minors stalled completely. Year after year, the average dipped, the strikeouts piled up, and the power vanished. By age 24, he was out of baseball entirely, without ever playing a single MLB game. Meanwhile, Reggie Jackson went on to hit 563 home runs, win multiple World Series titles, and become Mr. October. For Mets fans, Chilcott became a permanent what-if in franchise lore. His career wasn't wasted by attitude or work ethic. Just one unlucky dive that turned a dream into trivia. Brian Bullington. In 2002, the Pittsburgh Pirates had the first overall pick and the whole draft board at their disposal. They could have taken B.J. Upton, Zach Greinke, Prince Fielder, even Cole Hamels. Instead, they went with Brian Bullington, a polished college right-hander out of Ball State. The Pirates front office called him the safe pick, a future innings-eating number 2 starters who'd anchor the rotation for a decade. For a while, it made sense. Bullington was tall, poised, and had a fastball-slider combo that overmatched college hitters. But pro ball isn't a campus scrimmage. His stuff flattened against better competition. Then came the injuries. Shoulder fatigue turned to shoulder surgery, and the velocity ticked down. Bullington's MLB debut came in 2005, but it was brief and unspectacular. Over the next few years, he bounced between the minors and big league bullpens, rarely cracking the rotation. In 2010, he finally earned his lone MLB win, 8 shutout innings against the Yankees, a weird, fleeting moment of promise. His career record? 1-9 with a 5.62 ERA. After leaving MLB, Bullington found some success overseas in Japan with the Hiroshima Carp, carving out respectable seasons. But in MLB circles, his name stuck as shorthand for the Pirates' risk-averse mediocrity. The safe pick that never developed is a special kind of bust. Not loud, not scandalous, just quietly wrong. Bullington didn't flame out spectacularly. He simply never became anything more than a reminder that in the draft, playing it safe can be the riskiest move of all. Chad Curtis. In the mid-1990s, Chad Curtis was the kind of player coaches loved. Scrappy outfielder, hard-nosed base runner, not afraid to jaw with opponents. Drafted in the 45th round out of tiny Vanguard University, he beat the odds to carve out a 10-year MLB career. He bounced between 5 teams, but his hustle and knack for clutch hits made him a useful piece. His peak moment came in the 1999 World Series with the Yankees, a walk-off home run in Game 3 against the Braves. He circled the bases like a man who just authored his own Cooperstown moment. But Curtis was also known for being confrontational. He once refused to be interviewed by sportscaster Jim Gray, another time lectured teammates about morality in the clubhouse. After retiring in 2001, he leaned fully into his values guy image, becoming a high school teacher and coach in Michigan. Then in 2012, that image shattered. Curtis was arrested and later convicted of multiple counts of criminal sexual conduct involving underage female students. The details were disturbing, the betrayal absolute. He was sentenced to 7 to 15 years in prison. For Yankees fans, Curtis went from walk-off hero to an unmentionable name almost overnight. His career numbers, a .264 average over 100 homers, faded into irrelevance. Chad Curtis's arc is one of baseball's darkest turns. He didn't just fail as an athlete, he destroyed the trust placed in him as a mentor. Some busts are about stats. This one's about how off-field actions can erase everything you ever did on it. Matt Purke. Matt Purke's baseball story began like a prospect fairy tale. A Texas high school lefty with a smooth delivery, mid-90s fastball, and a wipeout slider, he was taken 14th overall by the Rangers in 2009. Texas offered $4 million, but Purke bet on himself, turning it down to pitch at TCU. As a freshman, it looked genius. He went 16-0 with a 3.02 ERA, striking out 142 in 116 innings and carrying the Horned Frogs to the College World Series. Scouts were calling him the next big lefty ace. Then came the injuries, shoulder fatigue, elbow issues, delivery tweaks that stole his velocity. By the time Washington took him in the third round in 2011, still giving him $4 million, the red flags were there. His fastball sat 88 to 90, his slider flattened, and hitters at higher levels stopped chasing. Purke battled through the minors with ERAs in the 5s and 6s. In 2016, the White Sox called him up, and for a few weeks, it seemed like maybe the bet was going to pay off after all. 12 games, a 5.50 ERA, then more injuries. He never saw the majors again. After bouncing through independent leagues and short minor league deals, Purke quietly retired, his name a ghost from draft day broadcasts. He turned down millions, got millions later anyway, and still ended up with just 18.1 MLB innings. Purke's arc is a reminder that betting on yourself only works if your body's willing to play along. Corey Patterson. In 1998, the Chicago Cubs used the 3rd overall pick on Corey Patterson, a Georgia high schooler with a perfect scouting report. He could run like Rickey Henderson, play Gold Glove caliber defense in center, and hit for both average and power. The Cubs envisioned him as their version of Ken Griffey Jr., only wearing Cubby blue. In the minors, he didn't just meet expectations, he obliterated them. He hit 320 across multiple levels, swiped bases with ease, and put together highlight reel catches that made prospect lists drool. By 2001, he was Chicago's everyday center fielder at just 21 years old. The tools were all still there, but major league pitching exposed the holes in his swing. Patterson chased breaking balls like it was a reflex, rarely walked, and his on-base percentage hovered in the low 300s. In 2003, he looked like he was turning the corner, hitting .298 with 13 homers in half a season, before tearing his ACL. He came back, but the bat never adjusted. Over 14 seasons, Patterson played for 8 different teams. His defense and speed kept him employed, but the Griffey comparisons turned into whispers about wasted potential. He finished with a .252 average and a .290 OBP, numbers that tell the story of a tools guy who never turned the raw material into a finished product. Corey Patterson's career wasn't a disaster, but when you start with future superstar, ending up as good glove, streaky bat feels like the long way down. Royce Ring. In 2002, the Chicago White Sox used the 18th overall pick on Royce Ring, a college closer from San Diego State who looked like he'd be shutting down big league 9th innings in no time. He had the frame, stocky and strong, and a sweeping breaking ball that made left-handed hitters look silly. The scouting report said quick to the majors, and Chicago drafted him expecting just that. But almost immediately, the velocity started to dip. That mid-90s fastball that overpowered college bats dropped into the high 80s. Big league hitters don't miss high 80s fastballs unless they're set up perfectly. And Ring's setup wasn't fooling anyone. After 2 minor league seasons, the White Sox shipped him to the Mets in the Roberto Alomar trade, hoping a change of scenery would spark something. It didn't. Ring bounced between AAA and the majors for years, serving as a middle reliever rather than the high-leverage closer he was drafted to be. Over parts of 7 MLB seasons, he appeared in just 94 games, posting a career 5.29 ERA. No saves, no closer moment, just a series of short stints, waiver claims, and spring training invites. By 2010, Ring was out of MLB entirely, though he transitioned into coaching soon after. Royce Ring's career didn't crash in a blaze, it evaporated. He wasn't a clubhouse problem or an off-field headline. He just went from future bullpen anchor to organizational depth in record time. In the draft, safe pick for relievers can turn unsafe fast. Mark Appel. Mark Appel is the rare draft bust who actually got to write his own strange, quiet ending. In 2012, the Pirates took him 8th overall, but he passed on their offer to return to Stanford, betting on himself to go higher. It worked. In 2013, the Houston Astros made him the 1st overall pick, envisioning him as an MLB-ready ace in months. He looked the part, 6 feet 5 inches, mid-90s heater, slider that bit hard, and a polished delivery. The Astros marketed him as the future face of their rotation, but the results never matched the resume. His command wavered, his velocity dipped, and opposing hitters stopped looking overmatched. Shoulder inflammation, elbow soreness, and mechanical tinkering kept him in a constant cycle of rehab and almost ready. By 2015, his ERA in AA was over 4.00, and the future ace label was already fading. In 2017, Appel stepped away from baseball entirely, calling himself the biggest draft bust in MLB history. It looked like the story was over. Then came the twist. In 2022, 9 years after being drafted, Appel made his MLB debut with the Phillies at age 30. He pitched 10 games, allowed just 2 earned runs, and got the moment he chased for a decade. He retired the next year, satisfied that he'd finally touched the top. Mark Appel's arc is unique. He didn't become an ace, and he won't be in any record books, but in a sport full of unfinished stories, he at least got to write the last page himself. Really quick, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting a lot more here. Thanks. Todd Van Poppel. In 1990, Todd Van Poppel was the high school right-hander every scout wanted. Out of Arlington, Texas, he was 6 feet 5 inches with a smooth delivery, a fastball that hit the mid-90s, and a curve that buckled knees. He was so highly regarded that he told the Braves, who held the first pick, not to draft him, threatening to go to college instead. Atlanta pivoted to some kid named Chipper Jones. The Oakland A's, coming off a World Series appearance, had the 14th pick and were happy to pay. They gave Van Poppel a then-record $1.2 million contract, and the hype machine roared. He was supposed to be the next ace in a rotation with Dave Stewart and Bob Welch, a future Hall of Famer in green and gold. But the development was rushed. Van Poppel skipped the usual seasoning and debuted in the majors at 19. Big league hitters learned quickly that while his fastball had heat, his secondary pitches were undercooked. Walks piled up, home runs followed, and his ERA ballooned into the 6s. Injuries chipped away at his arm, and his mechanics never really clicked. Van Poppel bounced through 7 teams over an 11-year career, mostly as a middle reliever. His final career line, a 40-52 record, 5.58 ERA, looked nothing like the ace projection. His name became shorthand for overhyping a young arm. Oakland got their phenom early. Unfortunately, so did opposing hitters. Sometimes, the next big thing just means the next cautionary tale. Travis Snider. In 2006, the Toronto Blue Jays drafted Travis Snider 14th overall, a 6'0" left-handed slugger from Washington State who looked like the next great middle-of-the-order bat. He crushed high school pitching so badly that scouts stopped asking if he'd hit big league pitching and started asking how soon. Baseball America ranked him the number 6 prospect in all of baseball by 2009, and Jays fans dubbed him the Lunchbox Hero. Part nickname, part folk legend. In the minors, Snider was a problem for pitchers, hitting over .30, slugging to all fields, and launching moonshots that made the highlight reel before he'd even turned 21. His big league debut in late 2008 came with a .301 average and an OPS near 900 in his first taste. It looked like the future had arrived early, but pitchers adjusted. They fed him breaking balls off the plate, and Snider chased. The hot streaks came, but they were brief. The slumps lasted longer. Toronto kept moving him between AAA and the majors, hoping each reset would unlock him. Instead, his timing eroded, and so did his confidence. By 2012, he was shipped to Pittsburgh. A year later, he was a role player. Baltimore, Kansas City, independent ball. Each stop felt further from the promise. The pop was still there in batting practice, but in games, it was fleeting. Snider's MLB career ended with a .244 average and 54 home runs, far from the feared bat they drafted. In the end, the lunchbox hero brought his lunch, but the power never really clocked in. Ben McDonald. In 1989, Ben McDonald was baseball royalty before he threw a single professional pitch. At LSU, he was the nation's best college arm, a 14-win ace with a mid-90s fastball, a hammer curve, and a 6 feet 7 inches frame that looked built to log 250 innings a year. He'd just been the College World Series MVP, starred for Team USA in the Olympics, and was a lock to go number one overall. Baltimore made it official, handing him a then-record $350,000 bonus and marketing him as the face of the franchise. The Orioles wasted no time, debuting him in September of that same year. Early flashes were everything Baltimore fans hoped: complete games, double-digit strikeouts, and the poise of a veteran. But in the 90s, pitchers weren't coddled. McDonald was logging heavy workloads, and the miles on his arm piled up fast. Shoulder soreness turned into chronic pain. The velocity dipped, the curve lost bite, and the once dominant outings became battles for survival. He still had moments, a 14-win season in '96 with Milwaukee, a handful of shutouts, but the ace label faded. By 1997, at just 29, his shoulder gave out for good. His career totals, 78-70 record, 3.91 ERA, were solid, but a galaxy away from the Hall of Fame track he was supposed to be on. McDonald pivoted seamlessly to broadcasting, becoming a beloved voice in SEC baseball. He stayed around the game, just not on the mound. His career proves that sometimes the only thing separating great from legendary is whether your arm holds up. Joe Borchard. In 2000, the Chicago White Sox made Joe Borchard the highest-paid draft pick in MLB history, giving him a $5.3 million bonus to skip being Stanford's starting quarterback. He was the perfect prospect blueprint: 6 feet 5 inches, athletic, switch hitter with ridiculous raw power, and the arm strength of an NFL signal caller. Scouts projected 30 homer seasons, gold gloves, and all-star weekends. Early in the minors, Borchard teased all of it. He hit rockets to all fields, posted 20 homer campaigns, and covered ground and center like a tight end chasing a post route. The strikeouts were there, but so was the slugging. By 2002, he was in the majors, the supposed centerpiece of Chicago's future. Then big league pitching started exposing the holes. He chased sliders into the dirt, swung under high fastballs, and never seemed to adjust. His batting average dipped under 230, his on-base percentage cratered, and the strikeouts piled up like snow. There was one unforgettable moment. In 2004, Borchard launched a 504-foot home run at Comerica Park, still the longest in the stadium's history. It was the kind of swing that reminded everyone why the White Sox wrote the check. But moments don't build careers. By 2007, Borchard was done in MLB, carrying a 205 lifetime average and 26 home runs over 301 games. He bounced around AAA for a few years before walking away. For $5.3 million, the White Sox got one perfect highlight and years of what-ifs. Joe Borchard's story is proof that even the most beautiful swing can still miss everything. Baseball loves its next big thing stories. Every draft, every showcase, every viral clip gets a kid labeled as the future. But the future is a long way from the present, and the game is built to humble you. Some guys lose their shot before it starts. An injury, a bad decision, a bad night in the wrong place. Others get there and find that big league pitchers don't care about high school stats or college trophies. For every Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, there's a Brien Taylor or Donovan Tate. For every prospect who becomes a franchise cornerstone, dozens fade into the minors, overseas leagues, or another career entirely. Some leave with bitterness, some with gratitude, most with that quiet "what if" that never really goes away. The sad truth is, the bust stories are often more human than the success stories. They have peaks, valleys, redemption arcs, and collapses. They remind you that talent is only the starting point. Health, timing, opportunity, and sometimes sheer luck decide the rest. In the end, the failed prodigies aren't just footnotes, they're caution signs. And in baseball, just like in life, there's no guarantee that the story you think you're living is the one you'll get to finish. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe.